come once again to discuss things.
Let's go ahead and get started then real quick. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. This is an odd roster. Something about Bobby being on the channel apparently brings Alex on the channel, or maybe it's the other way around. So, there's your reveal for the cast of tonight's little performance here. We got myself, who, you know, eventually I swear I'm going to get an episode of Geeky Gentlemen where I'm not in it. And it'll just be Milan and Bill uttering madness. But anyway, tonight there's me, there's Bobby, and coming back to the show once again is Superhero Enthusiast.
Hello.
Hello. Hey guys, thanks both of you for coming on. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Jason Aaron book Punisher Max, which came out in I believe 2011 or 2011 I think. I got it right over here. Why don't I look?
That's always a good idea.
Well, yeah, when citing things, you know, it never hurts. I don't need to cite shit. I don't need to cite shit. I'm a philosopher.
Exactly. Castles in the sky.
Right. I don't know. I know it's really modern. I got the hardcover. And I don't like... There should be a standard for where the copyright date has to be displayed. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't, and I'm not gonna... This is compelling audio, everybody. Ian looks at a book.
And doesn't know.
Yeah, well, anyway, we're gonna be talking about the first volume of the Jason Aaron Punisher Max book. I believe there are 3, because after this, there's Punisher Max Bullseye, and then there's Punisher Max Frank, if I remember correctly.
I think there's actually 5. There's one after that called Homeless, and then another one called War's End, apparently.
Oh, okay.
I
kind of quit reading it after what's her name? Elektra showed up.
It's been a while since I read these. I'm just looking through. I have digital copies now, and that's what it's telling me. But it's been a while.
Yeah. But Kingpin is such a strong start to this, and I did really love it. And Bobby came on, and I let him borrow my hardcover for it. So since Bobby was the one that had no prior exposure to this whatsoever, what do you think? Initial impressions?
Well, okay. First of all, the only thing I've read with Punisher before was just a short cameo with in Deadpool, and I feel like I know just about as much as I did before.
Really? Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It says Punisher Max, but it's not really a Punisher Max book. I was trying to get Manos in on this video earlier this week, and he's like, I fucking hate Punisher. He's an asshole. And I'm like, I was just talking to him before this because he and I were doing a video. And I'm like, well, honestly, it's more of a Kingpin origin book centered around the Punisher, you know, being the driving force for his creation than it is a Punisher book.
Yeah, like, honestly, you could have easily replaced the Punisher with Daredevil and have the exact same story.
Yes and no. It had to be a very violent Daredevil. Because Daredevil doesn't, I don't think Daredevil creates the same kind of desperation that the Punisher does. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have just subbed any other hero in, but the Punisher is not really explored in this.
Mm-hmm. And he definitely is later. I remember in Bullseye they get more into him. I think this serves as our introduction to, like, what kind of effect the Punisher has on the world. From what I remember about Bullseye, it like, gets into his psychology through the second person kind of thing. And then when I was reading Frank, it was getting really interesting, but then Elektra showed up, and I was just like, I don't care anymore.
Well, yeah, that's right, because, like, Bullseye is totally batshit insane in this, and he's, like, trying to figure out who the Punisher is and, like, all his little, like, personal tics and stuff to try and understand him. so that he can
the guy that talked me into buying the first volume. I once heard him describe the scene from Volume 2 Bullseye, where he's like, "You shouldn't have left the mattress, Frank. I'm gonna steal your dreams." That's fucking creepy! Just in the comic book store screaming his head off about how good the book was. But I'm sorry to cut you off, Alex. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I think if you want a book that kind of tackles more Frank Castle as a character, that go for more of the Garth Ennis Punisher stuff, that's also Punisher Max, but it's like the Punisher Max.
Yeah, it's weird. I was very specific in telling everybody that I was talking about Punisher Max Kingpin, because it's this. Let me ask this: how did you guys feel that do you feel that the Max title was used to its full extent here?
There are tits and gore, so yes.
And the word cocksucker every 2 pages.
Indeed, and there's a rape scene, and are there more than one rape scenes?
Yes.
Sort of.
Okay.
There is. There's the prison one and then the revenge one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. We don't see it as much. Yeah, we do, don't we?
Fisk is taking pictures of his wife. And
yeah. Alright, so, but, like, I did want to talk about the book itself a little bit, but we're kind of on Punisher as a character. I figured that's where we'd kind of round this video out talking more about. But let's go ahead and continue on that. So, who here likes the Punisher? Who here doesn't like the Punisher? What's the feelings around here?
For me, I really do want to like the Punisher. It's just, there's times where you see him kill someone he's questioning. I do like the fact that, he finds a way to, well, if you're going to kill everyone, you're questioning why would they talk to you? Well, you can either die real easily, or I can torture you for the next, day.
Yeah, that was a great way to open a book, wasn't it? How about you, Alex?
I like reading about the Punisher. I don't think that's the same thing as liking him, though. I know, I always actually really resist when people call him a superhero. Like, yeah. I think he's more just a supervillain who happens to have his own book.
That's interesting. I don't know if I'd go that far. I think the Punisher is, like, I hear people say it a lot, where Marvel seems like a bunch of universes that aren't meant to be together, that are thrown together. Like, X-Men always seems like it's its own thing, and Punisher always seems like it's its own thing.
Yeah. There are different corners, I think, of the Marvel universe, and the Punisher tends to exist more in that kind of sort of crime noir-ish corner.
Yeah. The Punisher, though, I've always found to be the most realistic interpretation of a continually successful vigilante, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that, especially in Max here, it's fairly, everything that he does is reasonably believable. I mean, blowing up horses is a bit comic book, but hey, it's not physically impossible to blow up a horse.
That's true.
I've done science.
Mythbusters need to get on that.
Really? That would be the best episode ever, because you just get to see time lapses of PETA. No, but I've always found, I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Death Wish. I don't know if anyone else besides me has seen that movie. My father was a huge fan of old movies, and that was a big series. Like, the first one was good, and then the rest kind of, as most.
Is that with Charles Bronson?
Don't know the name off the top of my head.
Okay.
Jeff Goldblum is in it in one of his earlier parts.
Doesn't he play a mugger?
And a rapist.
Yes.
Basically, the premise of Death Wish is Jeff Goldblum and some other street hoodlums, and I'm going to refer to them that way because I find it entertaining, break into this retired, I think he's a retired cop, but don't quote me on that part, break into this guy's house and rape and murder his wife. And I don't know, I can't remember if he had a daughter or not, but...
So it's a family movie?
Yeah, it's a family movie, bring the kids, get the popcorn out.
I'm
But
looking
they-
it up
he kills-
now. Yeah, it's Charles Bronson, and he does have a daughter.
Okay, yeah, so they kill his wife and daughter, if I remember it correctly. And then he just, like, gets a gun and starts walking around on the streets, just looking to get, looking to draw people out to try to mug him or try to attack him just so he has a reason to shoot them. And I think that's pretty much just a step on... And that movie's fairly plausible and believable. As much as, this guy's incredibly lucky that he always shoots first, but, that's fairly plausible and believable in the sense of reality. I've always found that guy to be a step under what the Punisher does, where he goes out, like, looking for, not trouble, but looking to capture people and kill mob bosses and stuff. And I think this is probably the best version of that I've seen. And I do kind of like the Punisher when he's portrayed like that. I don't think he's a superhero. But at the same time, I don't think he's just a cold-blooded murderer. He's really kind of in the line there. He's a fairly realistic vigilante that's maintained successfulness, if that's a word.
It's kind of hard to, I guess, talk about because I'm pretty familiar with the Garth Ennis stuff that very much is kind of an exploration of his character, and kind of in that they do sort of paint him as he's a Vietnam veteran. That's a big part of his character, and they do kind of paint him as somewhat of a sociopath and someone who went to war and kind of mentally never really left, and who kind of grew to enjoy it because that was like the one thing that he was actually good at.
They do that later in this book as well. They go so far as to say that he brought his family to the picnic in the park where they die because he wanted them to die. He wanted an excuse to have a war.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's kind of... He's not really honoring their memory the same way that, like, Batman is honoring his parents' memory by doing his mission. He's kind of, like, pissing on their grave, because it's just... he's using them as an excuse to just continue to kill people.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And that's, like, I mean, anyone that decides, I'm going to go fight crime because my loved ones are killed, or kind of, like... are obviously have some level of mental imbalance, because...
Just a little.
Isn't there... something else you can do? I'm sure they don't want you to, get shot. And
at the time when his family died, was he still a cop?
In
the Max series.
No, he was a vet.
Just a vet?
Yeah, he was just a veteran. He was never a cop.
Okay.
In the Max series, as far as I know.
Yeah, I think the cop thing was just in the 2004 movie.
He was an FBI agent.
Okay.
I
federal cop, I guess.
Yeah. I really like the 2004 movie. I think it actually made his origin a bit better. And as far as relating to him, I mean, I guess I'll agree it doesn't fit in with this kind of thing where he used his family's death as an excuse, but I really like where they take him in the 2004 movie as far as a more relatable, more grounded character, and I just like how, like, crazy clever his plan ends up being. And I really enjoy Thomas Jane, and if you haven't seen it, go watch Dirty Laundry, the short film that he did with Ron Perlman. It's brilliant. You seen that, Alex?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I really did love that. I wish they hadn't used the soundtrack from The Dark Knight.
Yeah, that was kind of off-putting.
It's weird. I'm not sure if it's off-putting because we're all fans of the Nolan Batman films, so we recognize it right away.
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to see someone that, like, had maybe seen the Nolan Batman films once, but doesn't really remember them that well. And then just, watch this and see if they, like, catch it.
It's good music, but it's like I have different associations with it.
Yeah, it's just it sticks out like a sore thumb, unfortunately.
Like, what was it? A couple years ago, I went to a haunted house,
and
it was completely pitch black, and I was wearing my Batman shirt, and the entire time they were playing that song.
Oh, Why So Serious? Or
yeah.
What? Oh, that's funny.
I'm like, I can't get scared right now. I feel like Batman. Like, I'm gonna grab one of these clowns and punch him.
You must be the worst at kids' birthday parties.
That's awesome. I don't know. I always wanted to. If I ever do get a chance to do stand-up, I've got a clown costume. What I want to do is I want to go up on stage, dress up like a clown, and like appear really nervous, and I'll have a plant out in the audience, and I'll be like, "Hi, I'm a clown, and I'm gonna make you laugh." And then my plant's gonna be, "How do you know we're gonna laugh?" I'll be like, "'Cause if you don't, I will fucking murder all of you." And then alienate the rest of the audience by telling like dead baby jokes. Yeah, that's my idea of comedy, everybody. Sorry, plugging in the computer there. I knew it was gonna die.
Now, one weird thing for me is I've always kind of considered Punisher kind of treads in the same kind of lines with Dexter.
Really?
A little bit, not exactly that they're the same character and the same motives, but I don't know. I just always kind of like I can. For one TV show character, I always see a little bit of Punisher, a little bit in that just using the system and bad guys to get feeding their hunger.
Mm-hmm. Like, I guess that's an interesting parallel, especially with this book, because we were talking about how he's just a sociopath that uses his family as an excuse. Like, yeah, I guess I kind of see where you're coming from with that. They even did draw in the second season, I think there was talk of, like, the killer that Dexter ended up being, like, they found all the bodies Dexter had hidden, and there was, like, talk about, like, him being this guy being a vigilante superhero, and there's that really cool, like, little daydream sequence that they did with, what's his name? The actor that plays Dexter.
Michael
C. Hall.
Michael C. Hall, yeah.
Yeah, there's that, like, daydream sequence where Michael C. Hall was, like, this leather-clad superhero kind of thing. It was neat. I'm wondering why no one has used that for a fan film yet. He keeps getting pitched for all these different, like, villain roles. I'm like, come on, people. You can't have Michael C. Hall only be the bad guy in Gamer. Come on. You seen Gamer, Alex?
I haven't. I've only seen the trailers.
It takes what honestly is a very fascinating premise and then makes it into a dumb action movie. Unfortunately. Oh well.
Kind of like a Death Race.
Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, I guess I see your comparison there, Bobby. That is an interesting idea. I like the idea of Punisher and Dexter hanging out. That'd be an interesting little cross-universe divide there.
Well, the guy who was the villain, I think, season 7, actually played the Punisher, so...
Oh, was it the guy in,
was it the Lionsgate movie?
Oh, War Zone or whatever it was?
Oh, Ray Stevenson.
Yes.
Oh, cool. That's interesting.
And he was great in that.
Neat. I don't know, I like the Punisher a lot. I do like the Punisher. I think he's an interesting character. I don't know if I'm like... I'm not a Punisher fan, I guess, but I'll view the Punisher without putting up a bitch about it, I guess. I don't know.
Now here's a question for you guys about Punisher. Would you guys rather see a Punisher movie next or a Punisher TV series?
I think Punisher would honestly work better in a limited series, like a mini-series or something. How about you, Alex?
I could see it be done as a movie, but it would have to be like, kind of like Death Wish or like a 70s movie. I would love to like get a time machine and then go back in time and recruit Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro to do a Punisher movie.
Like, you could probably still get Scorsese to do it. Maybe. But you need a modern actor.
Yeah.
Unless another Leonardo DiCaprio playing Punisher, I don't think that's going to work.
No. But I mean, Robert De Niro back in the day, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you. Or, I mean, you could do, like, because... How old's Robert De Niro?
It's a good question. He's getting up there. And I mean, Frank Castle in the comics is pretty up there, too. But... Yeah,
I mean, like, if you go with the Vietnam vet thing... If Robert De Niro's willing to do the work on his body, which he says he's never doing again, but I mean, that was from an interview about Las Vegas, so I'm not going to take him that seriously. Robert De Niro was the guy, like, that first, everyone talks about Christian Bale and the switch from Machinist to Batman Begins. I mean, Robert De Niro was the first guy to really do that kind of thing.
Raging Bull.
Yep. Raging Bull, that was like really shocking to me. I can't remember what movie it was in. It might have been Raging Bull, when Robert De Niro was still fairly new. He's in this scene with this like classically trained actor, and in the scene his character was supposed to be up drunk all night. So Robert De Niro shows up to set and he just looks fucking terrible. And he's talking to the actor, the guy's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" And he goes, "Well, in the scene, my character's been up drinking all night, so I was up drinking all night." And the guy goes, "It's called acting." Yeah.
Oh, those method people.
Yeah, method people. Like, you seen any Monkey and Apple stuff, Alex?
No, I haven't.
He's the guy that got really famous for doing the, Batman Can't Talk video, the Joker interrogation scene.
Oh, okay.
The very first one of those he did, though, with Batman and Joker, was Christian Bale's dilemma with Heath Ledger being cast. Because Christian Bale in a movie played a gay man that was a bottom, and Heath Ledger in a movie played a man that was a top. So he was, like, worried it would throw off the whole Batman dynamic. And he kept, like, breaking in the middle of scenes, just saying, "Please don't fuck me in the ass, Heath." And there's, like, this really great part where he's like, quote unquote, Heath Ledger just breaks down. He's like, "Christian, we're actors. We're acting. I played a gay man. You played a gay man. But I didn't fuck Jake Gyllenhaal up the ass, just like you didn't get fucked up the ass." And Christian Bale's all, like, quiet. He goes, "Christian, I'm a method actor." One of my favorite one of his little videos. They're really good for the first about 5 minutes, then they go. But yeah, sorry, I always love that scene. Anytime someone mentions method acting, that's right where my head goes. So what were we talking about?
Some guy with a skull on his chest. I don't know. I don't know. Punisher as a character, he works for me. He was a very controversial figure, though, because for years there'd been this whole thing about superheroes don't kill no matter what. And then Punisher came on, and he was the first, like, major name to start shooting people and stuff. Do you think he's so popular just because he's, like, the first one to have done that in, like, a big way, and, like, that was the whole point of him? Or what do you guys think leads to the Punisher being popular?
Well, there's got to be something behind that, too, because there's been other characters who have done killing, but they don't last too long, because usually they kill off the biggest villain names, and, well, where do you go from there?
Yep.
And I haven't read too much of Punisher, so honestly, I don't know. Yeah,
there are really only a couple Punisher villains who kind of make comebacks, Barracuda being the big one. But he's kind of as tough as nails as Frank, so...
I don't even know who he is off the top of my head.
He's pretty much the most hilarious and offensive character ever, so he's totally worth reading.
Okay. I know that the movie did, the terrible 2008 movie did, Jigsaw.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good way to do a villain, honestly, where he's like, Frank tries to do his whole ironic death kind of things because the guy was obsessed with his face, so he throws him into a bunch of broken glass, thinking it'll kill him, and then it doesn't end up killing him, and, shit happens because of that. I thought that was a clever idea, just the movie doesn't execute it right, because you can't have this guy who's supposed to be going crazy because of this condition with his face start giving parodies of the speech from Patton.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't do that and have me buy it. God.
Well, I think that movie is supposed to be, like, deliberately schlocky, and that's the thing that why maybe it didn't work, because it wasn't clear enough that it was trying to be schlocky.
There were a couple scenes I really liked. My favorite being, because it is like the Punisher thing to do, where they've got the guy handcuffed to the chair in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And Punisher just walks in and blows his fucking head off. No hesitation about it at all. I really do enjoy that. Just like, fuck this shit. And the cops that are like, what the fuck? was just that's a good scene. I like that scene. I don't know. I would not mind a Punisher parody movie. That'd be fun.
Oh god.
Just like something that's just deliberate, like Sharknado kind of Punisher movie. That's would be amazing.
Oh god, the same guys are doing that. Did Sharknado? Their next film's a rip-off of the RoboCop.
Really?
Yeah. So
Nice.
I'm not even sure how that's gonna go, but
I'm excited. Sharknado is like, guys, you don't even understand, and I can confirm this, and I can say this, and Alex can confirm it because we were both students of philosophy. Humanity has reached its conclusion. We have made Sharknado. We're done. Everything else, everything has been striving towards that moment, right?
It is all downhill from here.
Yeah, totally. Sharknado happened. It's, there's a couple other great things that measure up to it. There's the Mona Lisa. There's, the Mission to the Moon. And then right at the top of the list is Sharknado, guys. It's everything we've strived for. It's all after that. Plato once sat in his cave and wrote, "One day they will make a play in which great white sharks are taken up in a tornado and continue to kill people." Only he did it much more convolutedly and less interestingly than that.
Also in Greek.
Also in Greek, yeah. Yeah, as you do. Alright, yes, it's all downhill after Sharknado. A Punisher Sharknado film would be really cool, though.
Where Punisher
versus
fights
Sharknado.
the Sharknado, or teams
Yes.
up with the Sharknado?
Punisher is part of like a Punisher film with the same tone as Sharknado.
Okay.
A Punisher film with the same tone as Sharknado. That would be fine. I don't care what anyone says. Alright, you guys want to start getting back into the book more? Sorry, this got very weird very quickly. Alright, so Punisher Max, let's briefly summarize the plot, because I think that's the most interesting thing about it, honestly, is just that the innate cleverness of giving Kingpin an origin that actually makes sense and seems somewhat remotely plausible. Because the way I've always described Kingpin to people is any crime that happens in New York City, he gets a cut. Doesn't matter if you rob a bank or a 7-Eleven. And so, how you get someone to that level of power is very interestingly handled in this. And you need Punisher to do it. We were talking about that at the beginning. You need Punisher to do it because no one else creates the desperation in the Mafia to be the catalyst for this. So basically, what happens in this book is Frank's been around for about 30 years, and he's killed the majority of the mob, and it's struggling on, and everyone that's the heads of the families are really just 4th or 5th string guys. And they're just trying to think of a way to survive. He's hammered them to the point of desperation. Haha, see, Batman. And they're just trying to think of a way to survive, so they decide to pool their resources and create the myth of a Kingpin for the Punisher to chase after. And it's Fisk that comes up with the idea, and he's just a low-level bodyguard, honestly. It's Fisk that comes up with the idea, and Punisher starts chasing that, but Fisk turns on the mob, gets Punisher distracted long enough that he's able to take out all the rest of the families and become the head of all of them simultaneously. I just think it's ridiculously clever. How about you guys?
It's a brilliant plan.
Uh-huh.
And it's not one of those typical bad guy schemes that just comes off, very typical. Mm-hmm. I think it's really original. Yeah.
It honestly, this could be a movie. I think if you take this and Bullseye, you can make a pretty good Punisher movie using these as your outlines. But that scene where all the mobsters start dying, it really feels like, I don't know if you've seen Lucky Number 11. It feels like that music cue and narration should be going on right about there. like that classic gangster film trope where like you see all these people die and you like hear some guy giving a really kick-ass speech, and then like the music swells up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I really love that scene. That one's just
Especially at the very end where like Mr. Fist is wanting to see you, Mr. Whatever his name was, with the eye patch.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that face, like, oh shit.
That was cool. Man, I don't know. I really like the way that Kingpin is smarter than everybody else. Now I asked if the Max title was used to full effect, and I guess I kind of didn't really frame that question correctly, because what I more meant was, yeah, the gore works. Did you feel like some of the sex was just completely superfluous? Like there's a lot of scenes where I was just like, really, this is necessary? Why? Particularly the scene in, I think, like, book 2 or 3, where he tells his wife, hey, take off your panties. Why? So you can fuck the King of New York. Like, that was completely pointless.
Yeah, I mean, it shows us a little bit about him and kind of his family life, and that becomes a bigger thing at the end with, I guess, what happens to his son and him realizing that, no, he's been doing this for himself all along.
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that scene in particular jumps out at me. The old woman running around the house naked and randomly saying, get your big cock ready for me, to her supposedly dead husband. I don't know. Just stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that was that needed to be there. Why? Because it says Max on the title.
And then let's just throw in some prostitutes while we're at it too.
Yeah, prostitutes just randomly being naked. I'm like, okay, it serves no purpose except this is a Max title.
Yeah, I've read other Max titles that have had kind of that same problem. The current Wolverine Max book, I read the first few issues of it. It definitely had that issue.
Is there a DC version of Max? Or is that just Vertigo?
I guess Vertigo would probably be the closest. But I mean, it's not like there's a version of Batman where he's going around.
Well, the guys who worked on this book actually worked on the Vertigo books.
Yeah, I just thought about it. I would really like to see a very gritty version of Green Lantern, so we get to see like alien prostitutes and stuff, because that'd be fun. Because 3 boobs.
That's one more than I have a hand for. Come on.
And one thing with like the language in this comic, I feel like they just started, reusing a lot of the same thing, like motherfucker and cocksucker. You're like,
yeah,
it wasn't. Really,
there isn't very creative cursing. I do love creative cursing.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie. Oh, I did like the eye scene. I'm just.
Oh yeah.
I really like that he just stuffs him back in his face before he dies.
And then, I can see, and then he sees the Punisher.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Venture Brothers?
A little bit.
No, I haven't seen it.
There's one scene where an eye gets knocked out of one of the guy's heads, and they feel the need. I don't care because it was hilarious. They feel the need to go to a first-person perspective, and the screen's literally split down the middle, and like one dangle, you can see the floor. That's pretty awesome. I hope his perspective was more like that, because that would have been hilarious. Alex, you would really enjoy Venture Brothers because it takes like a lot of the old tropes of like the Silver Age. It just takes like the very gritty, realistic look at them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great. It's like it's got Johnny Quest and it just takes it like completely serious levels, and they throw in superheroes and stuff. There's like a family that's just a complete parody of the Fantastic Four. The Thing is like a retarded guy, and he's just a giant callus. And Johnny Storm, like anytime he gets out of his hyperbolic chamber, he just bursts into flames and he's in terrible pain. And it's pretty brilliant.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, the first season's on Netflix. Venture Brothers. Anyway, Punisher, Max title with Kingpin. I don't know. I liked. Okay, the one thing I thought it was fun, but it was totally random, and I mentioned it earlier with the whole Mythbusters.
Oh.
Assassin, like that was
Oh.
entertaining, and I liked the line where it was like, I'd ask him what he eats for breakfast. My guess would be tree bark and rusty nails. It just felt kind of like pointless, or not pointless. It felt kind of random in there. Like, yes, you needed an assassin, but it's just such a random thing to do for an assassin. He's a Puritan.
It reminded me a little bit of what's that one called? A History of Violence. And it's like it's the classic former killer guy who's gone off and tried to have like a normal life, and then he gets kind of dragged back into things. But it's just kind of like he's just that sort of generic archetype, and he's just kind of there.
Like, don't get me wrong, I found the guy entertaining. Like, my favorite had to be when, like, I love the bitter irony. That's something Punisher's always good for, is just, if you're a fan of bitter, ironic deaths, that's always good. Because the guy's like, he decides, yeah, he'll take one last job in order to, you know, get the money to save his wife's life. But he decides he's going to do it using only the tools of his religion. And then when he, like, breaks down and decides to break that vow and use a gun instead, that's what leads to him dying. I'm like, bitter irony.
And he was killed by a safe.
Yeah, that was nice.
You don't get to see that often, I'll give you that.
Sure.
Death by safe.
Some, like, Breaking Bad shit.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of, was the ATM.
I love the ATM. Jesse killed those two. No, not really. Man. I don't know, I like that guy, but it was random.
It felt a little bit too comic booky, but it still worked for me, like, for a real sense, but I think they could have easily picked something that was a lot more cartoony. But it worked for me, but it just was... When I first saw it coming, I'm like, oh god, how's this gonna work? But I thought they did pretty good for, like, the premise. I thought it worked pretty good.
I just like that, like, you don't get to see this scene, but you know it happens. It's one of those, like, odd little things. Like, you don't get to see the Joker buy makeup to become the Joker in The Dark Knight, but you just have this mental image of this, like, really messed up dude with scars on his face buying clown makeup. That had to have happened at some point. Like, if that means Punisher was running injured down the street, being pursued by a guy with a horse and buggy.
Yeah.
And doesn't this take place in New York?
Yeah.
So to see a horse buggy, in New York, that's not, all fancy. It's actually from a farm. It's just, what the hell is the guy in the straw hat doing with, suspenders?
Right? I just find that I find that image really funny in my mind. Just, like, that would be a kick-ass scene to film, no lie. Like, that would be something funny to see on film. There's your comic relief in the Punisher Max movie. There you go. That's a good name for it. Punisher Max, the film. I'd watch that.
That'd work.
So, like, what changes do you think could be made to this to make it a stronger story besides adding more about Punisher's character within it?
One thing I would like to add would be, the Fisk talks about how his mother jumped out the window.
Yeah.
I thought it would be more fitting at the very end. We see his wife do the same thing, how he doesn't want to be like his father. But in the very end, it caused his son to die, and his mother killed himself, just like his wife killed herself with the window, just like his mother did.
That would have been a lot more interesting than what they end up doing with her. Because, like, she ends up hiring Elektra to kill him, but Elektra's, like, subtly killing him via Frank or something. It's been a while since I've read those. Right, she hires Elektra to kill him, and he hires Elektra to kill the Punisher. So they're just sitting there, and it just goes on for entirely too long, and it's like, oh, come on. Oddly enough, did I mention Lucky Number 11 earlier?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's odd, I didn't even draw this connection until just now, but in Lucky Number 11, Morgan Freeman and another guy, name escapes me, Ben Kingsley, are mob bosses. One's called the boss, one's called the rabbi. Wait for it. Come on, somebody, please.
But which is which?
No. I'm supposed to ask, why is he called the rabbi?
Do you want us to?
Why is he called the rabbi?
Yeah. Why is he called the rabbi? Because he's a rabbi. That's my favorite line in that movie. It's like, he's a mob boss. He's a mob boss. They call him the rabbi. Why is he called the rabbi? Because he's a rabbi. Oh. Anyway, so Ben Kingsley and Morgan Freeman are like opposing mob bosses who literally live right across the street from each other in penthouses of these really, swanky towers. But they both have like the things bulletproof glass, like really thick bulletproof glass, and they got guards 24/7, and they're very careful about who they let in the buildings and stuff. Because they both know that they're trying to kill each other. And they both have these really ultra-powerful organizations. I recommend Lucky Number 11. It's a great take on the whole, crime, drama, kind of spy thingy.
Got Jason Gordon-Levitt.
It does?
Yeah.
He's...
Main character?
No, that's not him.
Who's that?
I have no idea.
That's Jason Gordon-Levitt.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It is not Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
I'll find out and I'll comment on the video then later. Future Bobby, get it done.
Okay. Future Bobby. I hope your life is sad and miserable because you're wrong. Anyway. This is the thing that drives Bobby to suicide. It's like, I was wrong about Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Bang! No, I just it's interesting because that's what Kingpin ends up doing. He doesn't leave the building in the next two books from what I remember. He's got bulletproof glass. He's worried about the Punisher killing him. It's odd that I drew the connection to that movie twice now. I felt like pointing that out and mentioning my favorite line.
It is kind of a, sort of Damocles sort of a thing, where it's like he works so hard and sacrifices so much to get up to the top, and then he realizes, now that he's up there, his life is in danger, and it's not fun at the top. He's a target now.
Yep. It's really fascinating. The thing is, the Kingpin's never really had a definitive character in a lot of stuff. Just whatever's using him uses him however the story needs to, as opposed to Batman's always Batman in one sense or another. He's always got very core elements that make him. Kingpin, the only core element is I want money and power. That's the only thing that really keeps going between any version of the Kingpin that you see. But this really defines the Kingpin in a very interesting character, as a very interesting character, I think.
Yeah, it actually makes him a character.
Yeah, as opposed to a plot device that we need to take him down.
Especially that childhood stuff, I love that, where he's talking to his dad.
Oh, God.
Tells a story about how he had a dog, and then he beat the shit out of the dog, and then it was the same window where his mom jumped out, and so he ties his dad down, and what was it?
Stuffs rats in his face. Oh my God, that was nuts. That and the rape scene, and then how he gets revenge for it was really clever. I don't know how I felt about I got why they did it. I just thought it was kind of odd that Kingpin let himself. I suppose he didn't let himself. I thought it was kind of odd that it happened, because Kingpin was always oh, I look really fat and helpless, but I'm actually strong enough to break through walls and take down Spider-Man if I can just get my hands around his neck.
Yeah, that's interesting that they didn't go that route with him.
He was breaking through walls and kicking ass in this.
That's one thing I found so interesting, because at first I'm like, oh God, he's gonna fight them all off, like the typical, bad guy, the typical, strong bad guy. But this this part actually showed that he is, a strategy genius.
Well, he's not
strategy genius, but
it shows that he's human.
Human and intelligent. Getting back, that's so much more powerful, I believe. Going straight after the wife than.
It's the slow knife.
Yeah. Also, twisted it can be.
Thank you, Alex. Do you have to die randomly now and not get much more character screen time?
I will have the worst death ever.
Is the camera still rolling? Yes. It's like, I'm getting paid. Fuck it. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably.
It's
my
possible
mistake.
though that he decided to basically become a white sumo wrestler after that.
Arguably, yes.
Because he did mention that was kind of, he never made it to the boat.
Yeah.
And but he did go upriver, so it could be easily, right after, getting from his dad's, growing up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So young in his life.
I mean, Fisk is nothing, like, you see how damn powerful he is in this. And, like I like the scene in Daredevil where Michael Clark Duncan just shows that he's, like, that kind of powerful and stuff. And I like that. I love Daredevil's version of Kingpin so much. Like, this and that are my favorite versions of Kingpin. And I only really like one line from the Spider-Man show. The end of the world is bad for business.
Oh.
It's a cool line. This and Daredevil, I really like the portrayal of the Kingpin. I like that, he knows Daredevil's going to come for him now, and instead of, like, hiring security and everything, he wants to fight him. He wants to, have that old style, old neighborhood brawl again. He still feels very much connected to that. I like that version of Kingpin. And I like this version where he's just, he's a badass, but he's more intelligent than that too.
Well, that's very true to how he's portrayed in some of the Frank Miller Daredevil stuff, like Born Again, where basically Daredevil goes in to take him out, and then he just completely mops the floor with him. Like Daredevil totally gets his ass kicked. In that, he's really smart too, because that's the story where basically he completely destroys Matt Murdock's life. He finds out who Daredevil is, and then he just fucks up everything. He blows up his apartment. He does all this stuff. So he's very much in this kind of mold where he's very sadistic and wants to get revenge on people.
Yeah. I like Kingpin a lot. He's an interesting character when he's done right, but it's one of those characters where you need someone good to be writing him. He's not something that jumps off the page himself, Like characters like that. Like, you can write a good Batman story without trying too hard, because the character is just intrinsically interesting on his own, and there are things about him that are very easy to grab onto. So you can be a mediocre writer and write a good Batman story. But there are characters like this, like Kingpin, and there are a host of others, where if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have a voice for the character, it falls flat quick,
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, might it be better to maybe compare him to, like, villains in that respect? Like, can you think of any villains that are kind of similar or the opposite, like villains who basically their stories write themselves?
Well, Joker stories always write themselves. It's really hard to write a bad Joker story, but Brian Azzarello managed it. I hate that. I hate that book. It's so disappointing because Lex Luthor Man of Steel is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's kind of like the Max version now that I think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
The graphic novels they did.
How about the show Arrow? Like, Oliver Queen's always kind of been like the rip-off of
Batman, and that's just what Arrow is, honestly. It's Batman with
you don't feel like they really made it enough diverse yet?
Not yet. I mean, I can see they're trying. Like, it's a smart move to really integrate the family stuff, but it's still...
I feel like they have a lot of the same background, but I just still feel like the character itself, it's a little... I can see your point.
Once he makes more jokes during fights, then I'll say, okay, now he's Green Arrow.
Well, the trouble is, it looks like the season is basically building up to be the plot of Batman Begins, just spread out over a season and with less money.
I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I got into Arrow because Flash, and I watched the Flash episodes, and I'm enjoying those. So, I'm excited for the Flash series now too.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else. It's giving us more DC on film, which we desperately need. No, but other characters that, like, they don't work unless you know what you're doing with them as far as villains.
Like, for me personally, like, when I read Deadpool, I think Deadpool is, like, one of those characters that can easily... Some people use, like, the typical, like, Deadpool jokes, and, like, they get really cartoony, but for me personally, I'm not a fan of that kind of Deadpool. I like a little more personal, but I don't want him, like, all serious Deadpool, but I want a little more of a, I don't know, I just don't want a cartoon coming out live in papers.
Alex, you got any on the brain?
I'm trying to think of some.
Like, I guess I'd say any of Flash's villains. Because I have no interest in, like, Captain Cole or Captain Boomerang until someone smart gets a hold of them. And you know, makes Mirror Master addicted to cocaine, and that's cool, but...
Count Vertigo.
No, Count Vertigo really... I like Count Vertigo, but I wish they hadn't killed him in Arrow, because they were doing really interesting things, and then like they went a little too Joker with it with that fucking video camera scene.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
like,
all that show is a lot of the time. It's just like, we're taking stuff from the Nolan Batman movies. You liked that, right?
Dude, it's been driving me crazy. It's been driving me crazy to the point where they're like directly referencing it. That fight scene with Black Canary and the League of Assassins. She's like, you need to learn to mind your surroundings. I'm like, oh, come on.
There must have been like a test, you know, that was like one of the 5 questions. It's kind of like, you know, driver's test where you get the same question like 5 times, different phrases.
No, dude.
One shall watch his what? Surroundings? A. B. Bananas.
No, dude, it's just like the League of Assassins. It's like in the mess hall. They're like just walking around, you know, getting their lunch and stuff. And then they're all like, hey man, are you minding your surroundings? Of course I'm minding surroundings, bitch. Are you minding your surroundings? Hell yeah, I think I'm minding my surroundings.
Maybe it's like Game of Thrones. That's their house, you know, what's it called?
Oh yeah, that's the house words. Mind your surroundings.
House of Assassins. Mind your surroundings.
It's really funny. You would have seen me if you were minding your surroundings. That's what we need. We need Batman Beyond to be all like, mind your surroundings. You got a fucking camouflage predator shit going. Yeah. No. That's not fair. I'm sorry, we keep getting like really out there on this one. This is fun though. I really like Kingpin's character as portrayed in this. Alright, so the crucial decision, we talked about it a little bit, but this is, as Captain Logan likes to call it, the opportunity for change. And I think we all know which scene I'm talking about with this kid there.
Oh yeah.
Did you feel it was believable, like, as drastically quick as it happened was? That sentence did not come out correctly, I apologize. Do you think that the scene was believable because of how drastically, how fast it happened?
I do. Mainly in the sense because, you know, I think Punisher, not the Punisher, but Fisk, his entire life has just been trying to prove not to be weak, not to be scared. And just realizing that 1 second, like, you know, I love my son, but he never realized at that second that he's a weakness for him. And how cold and heartless Kingpin can be, I think they did a good enough job for me personally to make that believable.
Alex?
Yeah, I bought it. Basically for all the reasons Bobby said. I try and think, like, when I read that, you know, what kind of decision would I make in that if I was that character? And yeah, I would, if I were him, I would probably do the same thing, because his whole life has been about, you know, trying to prove that he is the alpha. Nobody, he can't have any weaknesses. That's because that's the thing that you know, he exploits in other people. He can't have that. But
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if this is like a theme in the comics, because I haven't read a whole lot of Kingpin in the comics. But like, I don't read much Marvel. That's why. I remember in the Spider-Man show, oddly enough, his son ends up going to prison. Like, how much of the Spider-Man show, the 90s one, did you watch, Alex?
I've seen all of it, but it's been a while since I've watched through it.
It's been about like 2 years for me. Bobby?
Since I was a kid, I stopped watching it once he went into the future.
Fair
I
enough.
haven't watched it since.
Well, that was a whole new series because they were just trying to be like
that show was fucking weird. What was that?
Oh yeah.
Was it Spider-Man Unlimited?
Yeah, dude, it was really just a ripoff of Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
He's like got the
Which
web
is funny
cape.
because Batman Beyond is Spider-Man if he was Batman.
Yeah, it's weird, right? So it's Batman Beyond is ripping off of Spider-Man, so Spider-Man's like, well, fuck your shit, I can do it too. Well, no, but like in the Spider-Man series, that you get like some of Kingpin's origin, where Wilson Fisk is trying to hang out with his father, who's a gangster, and they like rob a place, and they're running away from the cops, and he helps his dad get up a fire escape and start getting away, and his dad at first reaches to grab him, but he's too fat, he can't help him up, and he goes, "You're just gonna have to jump." And he's not able to, and the dad gets away, and the cops arrest him. And then at his trial, his dad tells him to, keep quiet in the background. And then you see that in this episode, and then you see Wilson Fisk's son get arrested and for, basically crimes that Fisk commits. And he's like, "You're going to keep quiet about this." So it's weird that in this and in that, he really does become his father, just a more successful version of his father. Like, I suppose, this is going to sound terrible, but, like, every parent wants their children to have better than what they had.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose Wilson Fisk's father succeeded in that.
In a way.
Yeah, in a way. Every parent except some. I don't want to.
Except for the bad parents.
Yeah, except for it was weird. I was at work today, and like, I as a writer, I occasionally just think of things and I like write them down. And today I just thought of a scene. I don't have a story for it. I just thought of a scene that I want to do in something eventually, where like someone gets left to take care of some kids. And they're like trying to tell the person, no, I'm like really bad at this. Don't leave me here alone with these children. And like as the person's leaving, they're like, "No, wait, I'm bad at children." I want that line of dialogue to be in something. Just throw that one out there. Because Alex reminded me of it. I'm bad at children. It just works for me.
Do you guys know the serial killer? What's the Iceman?
Yeah.
I can see a lot of parallels between Fisk and him.
Oddly enough, I see exactly where you're coming from. Because, like, you look at the dude, and I watched a lot of interviews with him, because I have a book on the Iceman, oddly enough. He was, I don't know who else out there is as fucked up as me and went through a serial killer fascination phase in high school, but I did.
Me too.
And
it's a Fort Wayne thing.
Alex, would you like to learn fun facts about America right now?
Oh, I would love to.
Okay, so, I'm not sure how your geography is, but Fort Wayne is in Indiana, and Indiana is right next to Ohio, and they're both in the Midwest. And Ohio is famous for having the most astronauts for a single state. And Indiana is famous, or infamous rather, for having the most serial killers born in a single state. We got Charlie Manson, or serial killers / mass murderers. We got Charlie Manson and Jim Jones, so
John Wayne Gacy.
Yep, John Wayne Gacy. We got a lot of them.
You got all the good ones.
Yeah, right? We got the A-list, man.
We got a lot of imagination.
Yeah. So anyway, it's something interesting about the Midwest that makes people want to either flee the earth or kill each other. Sorry, I had to. I love that joke. Richard Kuklinski or Robert Kuklinski? Can't remember his name.
Richard.
Okay, Richard Kuklinski, a.k.a. the Iceman,
I think,
is one of the biggest serial killers, as in he killed the most number of people, and it took them forever to find him because he killed for practice, and he would just try different things to see how they worked.
rats.
rats, and he would like. It took him a long time to track him down, and most of the murders that he says he committed, they know these happened, but they have no way to tie him to it because, police evidence was bad back in the day. Everything was just so different that they never thought it was a single person committing a lot of them. He's said to have killed over 200 people. And he'd just, leave bodies on park benches.
Worked for the mob.
Yeah, he worked for the mob, and he was a mob hitman, too. And, you look at the guy, and he's just kind of a fat guy, but he's had that kind of, lunatic rage strength. There's one story that his ex-wife told about how he got pissed off at a guy in traffic and straight up ripped off the dude's passenger door. Right?
I'm pretty sure they might have based this character off of Fisk, or the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? There's, you see Fisk jump through walls in this, and, people will say that's too comic book. But I guess just knowing the things I do, it's more believable to me. Good point bringing that up, Bobby.
And also, though, he was a big family man, too.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely something I had noted.
Yeah, interesting parallel there. We gotta stretch out just a little bit more time, guys.
So he serial killed people to practice for his profession as a mob hitman?
Not exactly. He just killed people and tried different ways doing it, just growing up, just because that's what he did.
So it's his hobby.
Yeah, everyone needs a hobby.
Some people do macrame, some people do various crafts and stuff. He murders people.
In new and interesting ways. Some of the ways are just ridiculously clever. What was the one? I think Breaking Bad was actually based this off of it. He said he poured acid all over a guy. It just took for fucking ever to clean up. It's never again.
Chainsaws, he's not a fan of chainsaws.
Yeah.
So they did it once and just got it everywhere. It's spent hours cleaning that shit.
It's funny, there are a couple interviews with the guy, and he's just it's weird because it's got that, you can tell he did it because he's just so removed from it, the BTK. Yeah. There's that interview or the confession of the BTK killer. Damn it, Ian. There's confession of BTK. It's like ATM machine. There's the confession of BTK, and it's just, and then I went into the house and I tied her up and raped her for several hours, and then I murdered her and killed her children. It's just that removed, very no thought into it. It's just, yes, I drove to the grocery store and I picked up some milk, and
yeah, because there's no emotional involvement with it. Because if there were, they wouldn't go around murdering people.
Right, and it's just interesting to read or hear the interviews because he's just I put that one. He tells him like I would tell stories about funny things that happened to me at work. It's just I put one guy in a barrel. I left the barrel closed outside of a restaurant, and for months I drove past that restaurant just looking, and I always saw the barrel there. And then one day it wasn't there anymore. It's just he tells it like it's a funny story.
I remember there was one story he was telling was he said if he could feel, he probably would say the most messed up thing he ever did was it was more emotionally than it was physically. He was tracking down one guy. He got into his apartment, and the guy started praying to God. So he's like, all right, pray to God. I'll give you 15 minutes. I'll let him strike me down 15 minutes. And he waited. And he's like, I guess your God's not listening today, and killed the guy. He's like, yeah, if I probably had emotions, I'd probably say that might have gotten to me, but...
Yeah. God, that's...
He said, it's probably the most thing, he probably shouldn't have done it, but... That's why he said, he probably shouldn't. But, oh well.
Yeah. Whoops. My bad.
I wonder if the Punisher, I guess, to try and bring this back around, would be that kind of personality.
I think so. I don't think... that would be an interesting thing, because they do arrest Punisher later in this series, and he does go to jail. I think that would have honestly been a more interesting place to take it, at least for a little while. is if, Frank wouldn't fucking do it, but is if someone could get in to do an interview with the Punisher, that would be a jailhouse interview with the Punisher. That would be nothing short of fascinating to me. To hear him, and he just talks about it like a serial killer does. That would be really interesting, I think.
Oh, definitely. Because, that's kind of how everybody else views him. Is like, they don't see him as a superhero in universe. I mean, some people may say, like, oh, well, at least he directs it at the bad people, and that makes it, somewhat more acceptable. But, he is considered a mass murderer and a very scary person in the Marvel Universe. And these Max stories kind of take place out of that. That's how he can get away with killing, continuing characters in these. But the more recent stuff before Greg Rucka left Marvel, that was kind of what that story was about. Was like the Avengers are like, yeah, we should probably stop this Punisher guy.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Like, they did Punisher Kills the Marvel Universe, and I was like, I guess. I thought the way he killed Wolverine was stupid. I mean, like, guys, it's not hard to kill Wolverine. All you gotta do is get him knocked out for a little while, then drop him in the fucking ocean. Clunk. Down to the bottom he goes. Well, even if he couldn't swim, he could walk back. There's this thing called pressure.
You could always shoot him in the sun.
Nah.
That would kill him, but not Deadpool.
Could you suffocate him?
That's one of the interesting things. They're wondering if you can drown Wolverine. Because it's not about regeneration. Your lungs are fucking filled with water. You can't get oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Probably to a certain extent once he gets out of that water, though. I don't know.
Could he starve to death?
I think it depends on which Wolverine you talk about, because like there's some Wolverines that are not as strong as like the movie Wolverines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's times where he's been in battle and he's been out of action for like months.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to bring up real quick. All right, actually, there's one other thing Punisher related I have to talk about. Have either of you read the I think it was the Justice League and Avengers book that they did in the 90s? The crossover.
No, I haven't.
Heard about it.
There's this one great scene. The Justice League ends up in the Marvel Universe, and they know they're in another universe, and they're like, okay, we're going to scope around. Batman's like giving everybody instructions. Like, you're going to look around. You're not going to do anything. I don't care what your individual code is. You are not going to mess with anything in this universe. We are strictly doing surveillance. We're going to break up into teams and look around and see what we're dealing with here. And so they're all, like, flying around, and they're all, like, having these crises where they're trying not to, like, step in and do something. And then it's Plastic Man and Batman together, and they see Punisher going in to shoot some mobsters, and then it just cuts to, like, Plastic Man's on the phone, and Batman just, like, disappears in the background. You see him drop down a skylight, and then in the next scene, they're all back together, and Plastic Man's like, who's the one that said not to fuck with anything? It was a great little moment. It was like, yep, that's how that would go.
Yeah.
Like, there have been Punisher and Batman team-up books. I'm like, no, that would not happen. I'm sorry. It's like, they've done that before. That's what Under the Red Hood was all about. It's like Punisher-esque character in a Batman universe.
No, Punisher in general doesn't really work with any team-ups. He works better as, and I think I've noticed... Maybe
Daredevil, if you have a Daredevil that kills, those two can work together.
That's one thing I liked about when I was reading Deadpool... what was it, Dead Kings? Or I forgot. Anyways, Punisher was in it, but he wasn't working with Deadpool. He was actually trying to get Deadpool because Deadpool was hired to kill Punisher.
Oh, interesting. That'd be fun.
Well, typically Matt Murdock really doesn't like Frank Castle, but like Frank Castle has somewhat of respect for Daredevil, which is kind of funny.
He's like the one superhero he's okay with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think... Like, I guess it's because they're both in Hell's Kitchen and no one else is.
Yeah.
Like, there's a billion superheroes in Marvel's version of New York, and, like, two guys in Hell's Kitchen, which would be arguably the worst place. Why is it all centered around there, and there's the only two there? I don't know. What's Punisher gonna do? Shoot Spider-Man?
Well, it's kind of interesting that you bring that up because, to my point about him being kind of a supervillain who has his own book, he was brought in as a Spider-Man antagonist.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, in that, he was killing people for crosswalking, or jaywalking, rather. And then they decided to make him interesting.
Yeah.
I do think he's interesting. Vince really likes bringing up that story. Every time I hear him talk about Punisher, he's like, yeah, he's originally just this, contrived villain that's, killing people for the most ridiculous reasons, just because they're breaking the law. And then they decide to do something interesting with him and get rid of the white go-go boots. Has anyone ever pulled off white boots?
They're hard to keep clean.
Right.
I have a white pair of shoes, and God, yes. Even the bottom of the shoe. I can't have the bottom of one shoe touch the other because it leaves scuff marks. God damn. White boots. How is that tactical?
That would stop me in my tracks. Whoa. Go-go boots.
Yeah, it's part of his, distraction technique.
Right.
Oh my God,
are
those white boots?
He goes in to stop a bunch of gangbangers, and they just start making fun of his shoes, and
and he gets really sad and leaves.
It's I'm not even gonna kill you guys. You don't even want me to kill you. No, we do. It's like that scene in The Dictator. Oh my God. I've got to watch that movie again. That's so funny. It's I'm beginning to think you don't even want to be tortured. No, I do. Come on. Go ahead. It's fine. I got this anus umbrella. Oh, but you do not have the actual umbrella part. You're going to get spitzel all over your shirt. Damn it. Is there... I don't know. I like this book, and I like the universe it creates. I don't like it when Elektra shows up, because she's Elektra. I don't know. I don't like Elektra in general, I guess. I've never read anything with Elektra. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just never a Daredevil fan. And, that movie didn't do her any favors.
That's true.
Or anyone in that movie.
Let's take arguably the most realistic of the superhero movies that had come out at that point. Ben Affleck's super backflipping, glass dodging aside. And then make a movie where the tattooed man shows up. Because that makes sense.
No, what came out before that for comic movies? There was...
X-Men,
Blade.
Spider-Man.
No, Spider-Man didn't come out for another 2 years.
No, Spider-Man was out in 2001.
Yeah. Daredevil, I believe, was 99?
No, 2003.
You sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was known for being one of the first ones.
No, it was 2003.
You sure?
I promise.
I'm going to check this one, too. Future Bobby, get onto it.
Alex, you want to back me up here?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah, it says 2003.
Curses! Here's a gun, Bobby.
I'm just going to use this, Green Lantern toy and I'm going to shove it up my nose real fast.
Don't do that. I like that thing. It's broken, but I like it. I don't know. All right. Let's go ahead and do the wrap up on here because this is getting kind of crazy. Bobby's shoving things up his nose. God damn it! I gotta keep a track of you like a 2-year-old.
Ian, I think it's stuck.
God damn it! Now we gotta go to the ER. We're gonna finish the review first. All right. So Alex, you remember how the review system on Geeky Gentleman works, right?
Refresh my...
All right. To remind everybody, it's a 5 scale, and you can pick whatever noun you want, but it has to be relevant to the subject reviewed, and it has to be clever. All right. So, don't just say Punisher skulls, alright? Pick something clever, and it's got to be based on a 5 scale. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to give it a 5 saggy old woman titties out of 5.
I like that there's an odd number of them.
It's breast cancer. It happens.
No, maybe it's 5 pairs of saggy old woman titties.
That works too.
Okay, how about you, Alex?
I'll give it 4 prison rapes out of 5.
I'm gonna give Punisher Max Kingpin 5 breakfast bowls full of tree bark and rusty nails out of 5. Oh, that was fun. Thanks, guys. Alex, thanks for saving the video, because we were stretching as was, but there's no way Bobby and I would be able to get an hour out of this.
Yeah.
Everyone, I hope it was entertaining, because I sure as hell had fun. And if I liked it, then you should.
That is just an immutable fact of nature.
Yes. If I enjoy something, everybody must enjoy it. Now then, who wants to suck my dick? I could not get through that with a straight face. Damn it. Alright, anyway. Okay. So, announcements, and then we'll wrap up here. Everybody, I've got a video with Manos coming up on Wednesday. Tomorrow night, Milan, Bill, and I are doing the Christmas commentary on Batter Santa, which I'm excited about. That'll be a lot of fun. I love that movie. Yeah, so we're doing that tomorrow night. I'll probably post that the day after if Milan finishes the title card in time. I don't know. We'll see. I shouldn't discuss things of logistical value, but I'm thinking out loud. Stream of consciousness. Why do I keep going? Someone stop me. Okay. Anyway. Ew, Bobby.
Clever.
See, it's fun to have someone actually there when you're doing a podcast, because you can get different kinds of interactions that you just can't get through the internet. Like touch. But this just got very uncomfortable, didn't it?
Kind of.
Anyway.
It's getting kind of dirty.
You're the one that does a no pants podcast, so you shut the fuck up. You don't have any room to talk, Alex.
Well, it takes one to know one, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Alex, you want to make any announcements before I wrap up here?
With regards to my stuff, or?
Yeah.
I guess I just uploaded something tonight about different trailers that have come out recently. The Captain America one, the Spider-Man one, and the X-Men one recently. That's just a podcast on my channel. I recorded my Q&A thing. That should be up sometime soon as well. So I guess people can look forward to that.
I'm excited about that. Did you answer my question about Nietzsche?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because
That's gonna be good.
That's one that I always wonder about. So I want you to enlighten me.
I like Nietzsche.
Yeah.
Hard to go wrong with a mustache like that.
You really can't. All right, everyone. So thank you for listening to this review and very odd conversation about, I don't know what, serial killers and go-go boots and
Typical night in Geeky Gentleman.
Yep. It's always fun. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening, and until next time, we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing